Manchester City against Arsenal follow. It's Wednesday. We're still talking about that. And we will continue to do so. We've got an update from Pep Guardiola about Rodri coming up soon. And also we'll be taking a look at the other half of Manchester and what on earth is going on at United. Why can't they score goals? But we're going to begin with events on Sunday and the fallout and dark arts and who knows what. That's still to come on the show. But I want to get an update from Pep Guardiola. First of all, this is what he said after the game against Watford, and then subsequently we'll show you the tweet that Manchester City put out earlier today. But first, Pep from last night.
Still, we don't have the definitive. We'll be out for a long time, a while. But there is some opinions that maybe will be less than we expect. So, but unfortunately, he was injured, and right now, still, I cannot tell you because we are waiting the last phone calls from him and the doctors to know exactly what definitely he has and the type of surgery that he has to get.
When do you expect to find out?
We expect tomorrow. I think tonight, tomorrow, we'll know it exactly. I think the club will inform perfectly. I have the duty to find a solution. Rodri is irreplaceable. When a team don't play with the best midfielder of the world for a long, long time, of course it was a big blow for us. But it's football, it's happened. But my duty is find a solution to be competitive like we have been for many years and continue to be there, to be a problem for our opponents.
Okay, that was from last night. Rodri is irreplaceable. He's the best midfielder in the world. And this is the tweet that Manchester City put out today. It was about 11:30 UK time, basically confirming that he has suffered a ligament injury in his right knee. Stevie, the suggestion initially was it was an ACL. It's going to be a while. Who replaces him? What are they going to do? Who's going to be the one player? Is it going to be a combination of players? What are they going to do?
Well, as he said himself, he's certainly not going to just replace him because, no two players are pretty much the same anyway. But when you've got somebody with the kind of quality and the way that this guy's brain works and the touch and the vision and all of those things, then as he said again, he has to find a different solution. And listen, if anybody's capable of doing that, I mean, he's been doing that for, 8-9 years since he's been there. I mean, if you look at the wide areas, you got Grealish and you got Doku. Two completely different types of player, but playing in the same position. On the right-hand side, Bernardo Silva, Savinho, two completely different types of player playing on that wide right side. So he can look at a position and find different players to play in it, but play a different type of game. And that's just exactly what he'll do. Now, does he drop Phil Foden in? Maybe he does that. Do we see De Bruyne changing his role a little bit? I mean, he's picking up a lot of injuries. Maybe he needs to calm down with that marauding midfield role. Maybe you sit him a little bit. And these are just things that he might do because Pep always surprises us. I mean, Rico Lewis, could he stick Rico Lewis in? Could John Stones go? So, on the face of it, there's not an obvious replacement to do what he does. But there are players, because of the depth of that squad, that he can put somebody in and get a quality job from them that still means they're going to win games and they'll walk into games being the favourite.
LME, you cannot replace the irreplaceable. But as Stevie said, there are options for this. Is it simply a plug and play? Okay, X replaces Rodri in this game or Y replaces him in another game? Or do you think he might have to tweak his tactics in some games depending on what he wants to do?
Well, Andy, to answer that question, we need to understand why he's irreplaceable and why he's so important for Manchester City. And I believe that Rodri's absence is massive for three major reasons. Number one is recovering possession. Since joining the Premier League, Rodri has recovered possession more than any single player. And that's a Guardiola obsession, to recover possession. Number two is attacking distribution. Last season, Rodri created the most passes going forward, attacking distribution going forward, the most touches as well, and the most carries going forward. So already that's a massive loss. So it's about recovering possession and making sure the engine continues to go. And the third reason is less data-centric. It's about his instinct to anticipate danger. That's massive. So just like Stevie said, this really isn't the role of just one person. And I actually go to your question here. I think it's all about understanding who the opponent is and what you utilize in that midfield. To me, in order to try and help answer all those three problems that I just brought up, I think you need, just at face value, John Stones and possibly somebody like Mateus Nunes, who's a very versatile player and who's for Sporting Lisbon, he did play in that sort of double pivot, can maybe help. So maybe you need two people to do the services of what Rodri does as one. But I think it's down to understanding who the opponent is. It's an almost impossible job, if not impossible, to say, Rodri's gone, we'll just put this one player in. You can't do that. So you're going to have to really, just like Stevie said, utilize the many weapons that City has. It's an absolute tragedy, not just for Man City, by the way, but for the Premier League to lose somebody of that quality. So it'll be interesting to see how Pep Guardiola handles this one.
Stevie, it's horrible irony as well, isn't it? Because last week on ESPN FC, we were talking about Rodri's comments about players just now playing too many games with the Club World Cup coming up at the end of this season. And it had to be just a couple of days after those comments that he went down with the injury. But there's no one to blame here, is there?
No, not at all. Listen, I think initially everybody was kind of thinking Gabriel had done something, but obviously when you see the replays, he really does jar it big time. And then, of course, now we know what the outcome of that was. I mean, again, you're talking about irony. It's ironic that he actually had been coming off a really good rest period. Mm-hmm. So, if you're one of these people that just want to keep players playing game after game, it kind of gives them a little bit of fuel to say, look, if you're going to try and blame these injuries on playing too many games, look at Rodri. He had a great rest, got himself fit, and then first game back it goes. So they will argue that it's just nature. These things happen. But as you said, it's tragic for the player personally. It's certainly not good for City. But for the rest of the Premier League, good news.